And what's going on, folks? Welcome to another episode of the Knicks Wall podcast presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, as always, Kyle Maggio, joined by my co-host, Mike Cortez and Shaun Geddes. What's going on, boys?
Ready to talk some trades.
Yeah, it's a big day for trades. Real big day for trades. Today we're recording this Tuesday, February 8th, 7:45 right now in the evening. A lot of trades, and so there was a Kings trade today, but it's not the one we on this podcast want, because you know we are big De'Aaron Fox fans. I've been, as long as we've done this pod, we've talked about De'Aaron Fox, in any capacity. You guys have known that I definitely wanted the Knicks to draft him in that draft. I have been holding out hope for the Kings to stink it up for an opportunity for him to be on the market, for the Knicks to snatch him. I didn't think the day would come when he signed his extension. Lo and behold, he was very available this deadline, and the Knicks did not make the trade with the Kings. Not in a I'm outright blaming them at this moment type way, but in a the Pacers struck a deal with the Kings, and to everybody's surprise, including what appears to be mostly everybody around the NBA, the league in general, is that Tyrese Haliburton was the centerpiece going back to Indiana. So this was a trade for Domantas Sabonis, basically for, Haliburton. And then also going to Indiana in the trade was Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson, and then going to Sacramento with Sabonis, I believe it was Jeremy Lamb. I think there was some draft picks.
Justin Holiday.
Oh, and Justin Holiday, who
and then there was a sweetener of a second round pick that was thrown on in the next Woj tweet to follow it up. Like, well, not just that, a second round pick as well. Don't think.
Well. I mean, they're sitting pretty now. I mean, you know what the best part of that was, though? That this was the true sweetener, Shaun. I saw that Justin Holiday is not vaccinated, and according to Sacramento rules, just like in Brooklyn with Kyrie, he cannot play in home games. So I don't know how you make the trade. So first of all, it seemed like it caught nobody even knew that Haliburton was available, right? So just, for instance, I'm sure that the Knicks had an interest in Fox, obviously, right? We know that, but at the same time, I would assume or hope that they at least asked about Haliburton. You know what I mean? Like, you got to at least ask in these situations. And if they, they tell you to go fuck yourself, you go fuck yourself. But you have to ask. But he was obviously available. So, I mean, I'd be pretty bummed out if we didn't happen to know that. But, I mean, just, again, it seems like this was a last-minute thing they decided to include him. So, pretty interesting. I want to get your guys' just opinions in general. Again, no, this is a Knicks pod, but this directly affected the Knicks, in my opinion, because we'll find out now, I guess, but there had to be some kind of open communication between them, between the two teams, for at least the De'Aaron Fox rumors to even exist in the first place. So I really wanted the De'Aaron Fox trade. I know we did too, but the dream is dead. They are now trying to make the play-in with Fox and Sabonis, which I think is a curious fit. I like them both. I think it could work, but and we haven't even gotten to the other trade today, by the way. So let's just start on this one, because I mean, Jesus. But I mean, Shaun, what do you think? Because very shocking news.
I was definitely shocked. I didn't see that coming at all. I did not know Haliburton was available. I thought he was like the one untouchable they had, honestly. And he was playing really well. First of all, everybody always does a revision of history thing of, the Knicks should have drafted Haliburton. And I'm always so strongly against that, because I'm not a hindsight person. And I remember before the draft, I was like, the only thing they could really do to make me mad is drafting Haliburton. Like, I did not want Tyrese Haliburton at all. So, recently, the game right before he played us, I watched the Kings game because, I wanted to watch De'Aaron Fox for the Fox agenda, but he was out that night. But I was just like, all right, let me watch it anyway, because I picked Joel Embiid on Prize Picks. Shout out to Prize Picks. Coach, TKW, boom. But I picked Joel Embiid, and I wanted to just see the game. So Tyrese Haliburton was going crazy, and I was like, okay, I have to give it to him. And I went and tweeted him, and I was like, yo, I was wrong about you. Like, I'm a fan now. So how beautiful of a moment would it have been if it was us making that surprise notification today, and he was becoming a Knick? I would have just brought that tweet back, boom. And so that was where my mind first went. It was like, that's all it took to get Tyrese Halliburton. Not only was he available, but like, and that when I say that's all it took, there were some people pushing back, like, oh, Sabonis is, he's good. But of course, Sabonis is good. But today, one good player got you Tyrese Halliburton. I didn't know that could happen. It didn't require any first round picks, nothing. And it was just like, okay, that's strange to me. Then I started thinking of our package. I was like, okay, like we could have given like, and I hate to make trades like this, especially in hindsight when they won't happen because they're just trading people away for no reason. But it's like, yeah, I would have given up Julius. Like, I mean, we wanted to give up Julius for Fox. It was some of us like I would have given up Julius if they needed a power forward like that. I don't know what the value difference between Julius and Sabonis is. Some people may think one is better than the other. But either way, I think everybody can agree that it's pretty marginal. It's not that far off one way or another. So I would have given him Julius and multiple picks, like and another player if they wanted even. Like I don't know. So I just feel like did we not try? And then I started thinking more about what was going on with the Kings, and I thought about what it would be like to be a Kings fan. I'd be like, they must be sick. And then seeing the Reddit and one guy just like I saved the photo because I'm sure it'll be applicable at some time. But he just wrote F this team like over and over and over and over and over in all caps. It was hilarious. Like some of the reactions. But yeah, that was definitely a shocking trade. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon is now likely available in the off season. And then somebody pointed out to me that Malcolm Brogdon is always hurt. And I was like, damn, that's a good point. He is always hurt. Like, is that even the route you want to go? Like, right when he became available, the problem arises. Like, So, I mean, it's weird because, yeah, this trade really did take away it's like the Fox dream died. And then it was like, well, Halliburton and now Indiana's like, looking around the league, there's not a lot of teams that don't have a point guard, like, or there's not a lot of point guards that are available. I mean, Brunson may stay in Dallas. It's looking like, and then even with him, it'd be an all season. You can't trade for him right now. It's going to cost way too much. They said that themselves. So it's like, we're just waiting for Derrick Rose to come back. And I don't know what that looks like if we don't get rid of Kemba Walker. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So I'm getting nervous. That's how I'm feeling. I'm nervous. Mike, how
nervous
do you
feel? Too. Nervous as well, a little agitated. We'll talk about why in a little bit. But I just want to thank the Kings for existing because anytime the Knicks are doing bad, I could always look to the Kings and say, okay, at least I don't root for that franchise because that has to be a gut punch. I guess the equivalent would be like the Knicks surprisingly trading RJ. I guess that's the closest thing. That's the way Kings fans seem to be reacting. I don't understand it. I know before we recorded, I didn't really understand on keeping Fox with Sabonis. If it was Turner coming to play a Fox, at least that makes more sense because Turner could shoot. But that deal didn't make any sense for me. And then kind of what Shaun said, there's really no point guards available now. I really don't see a deal out there. And we're kind of really hinging this season being salvageable on Derrick Rose, which I love D Rose, but that's not really a safe plan. And I really don't know how this team gets better. And I know Harrison Barnes' name's been thrown out there for the Knicks. None of these deals are really appetizing, but they still need to make a deal. And the biggest mark has kind of just come off the board because now who do you really finesse? I can't really think of a team off the top of my head. Kyle, maybe you know a team that we can finesse, but I can't even think of a player right now. So it's kind of just in that wait and see mode. I really don't know where to go from here.
I mean, I know where I'm at. I've been saying for a long time, trade the picks or trade something and take a big swing somewhere. And they never do it. So it's a little frustrating, especially, the reports leading up to this kind of clearly indicated that they knew they fucked up this offseason, right? So you got to be active in undoing that if you're going to undo it. And it's not impossible. We've seen like when the Cavs had LeBron in, 16, 17, and he wiped the whole team, right? They came in, they had Derrick Rose, right, who actually was not playing good basketball at that time. And a couple other guys, Jay Crowder, but a bunch of guys they tried it, and it just did not work, right? Dwayne Wade was there briefly, like it just they had to retool. Just, okay, like and it was like 6 guys, George Hill, 6 guys, 7 guys gone, right? You can do it. Like, not saying you're in the same like urgency in terms of being a contender, so that changes the equation a little bit. But like, you knew you got to get 3, like at least 2, 3 guys out of there. Like that. You made the Cam trade. I again, I'm giving them the doubt. benefit of the doubt about not being that level of stupid or incompetent to make a move with no foresight. I mean, it had to be a precursory move, but it doesn't make any sense right now until that move actually happens. You got to wait and see to make sure that they don't fuck this up type thing. But the Cam was a margin move for a guy who may or may not have a big role in the rotation. Even once he's playing, it might not be big minutes either. We can't just assume it's going to be 25, 30 a night. Once a couple spots clear up, it might be 15, 20. It might be, well, you know what I mean? You don't know how he's going to fit it. So, I mean, I'm a little confused. I just figured, again, not that we're in like some massive rush, but it's like, you can't just like squat on stuff forever, and guys will lose value. You know what I mean? Quickly. I love Emmanuel Quickly, right? To me, coming into this year, start the season, he was still a very valuable young piece. And he remains so on this roster in particular, but it's like he had more like, not up, I don't know how to describe it, but he had more, I feel like, of a shine to him, right? Because it was like, man, this guy's hitting so many shots. Last year, he's these big scoring outbursts at very limited minutes, right? And now, I think he's played mostly well this year, right? But it's like the shooting hasn't been good, right? We know that. Shooting hasn't been quite as good or what we expected, but, he's still obviously, he's progressed as a passer a bit. He's progressed as a defender. So, like, it's fine. But, like, the excitement to maybe another team that the scoring guard suddenly isn't scoring this season probably doesn't help in the second season. You know what I mean? So if you wanted to move him at all, you try to move him when his value's a little bit higher, is all that I'm saying. So I feel like we do this a lot with guys where we don't make decisions on young players well. Like I feel like RJ, knock on wood, hopefully he's the layup and they don't fuck that one up, right? Assuming they keep him. But these other guys, it always just feels like we'll sort of hold on to you, but we don't really know if we're going to use you or not, or try to sell high against you, whatever. I just feel like they've had opportunities with some of these young players to package them up. They already aren't getting a lot of minutes. I thought you could get creative with the amount of picks that you had. No, we got 2 days left. It's not the end of the world. Something could happen, but it just feels like in terms of, making a trade that's actually going to make a difference for once. And everybody says like, well, who's even available, right? That's always the question we hear. Well, who's available? But every year, there's a lot of guys that are available. Like, and the names change, right? CJ McCollum was available. I'm not saying like I would have went all in on CJ, but when I saw what the package cost, I was like, I mean, that's not a bad deal, but I would assume the Knicks would have wanted to do that if they got off Evan Fournier's deal. I can't imagine they would want to pay Fournier for, at least 3 years at almost 20 a pop. And then you got CJ, big money for 2 years, and they're sort of occupying the same position. I can see why you wouldn't want to do both. So maybe they're trying to get a Fournier deal done to also try to do something like that. Is that where their interests lie? Because like, I could have been into that if that was the case, right? You get Fournier out, you get CJ in, the money is more, but it goes down from 3 years to 2 years. He'd be an expiring next year. I thought it made some sense if you can do the first part of it. But, it always just feels like we're a step behind. I don't know how to describe it. Whenever we're looking at somebody, even Lonzo, right? We're interested in Lonzo, but you know what? Not quite. We're going to wait and see, and then somebody snatches them up. So, sports eras are very, very short. People forget this too. They act like everything you got to do is for like some 10, 15-year run of success. And to be honest with you, that's quite unprecedented, like what the Spurs did, Not an easy thing to do. Normally you're good for a 4 or 5 year block at best. And then you take some kind of a hit, you got to retool, you got to shift gears to some degree. It's not easy or given to like really set yourself up for such permanent long-term success. So I think people got to remember, like in punting eras, you also do yourself a disadvantage because you could have been making stuff happen. Deals could have been, I've been on this podcast talking about trades, big trades since 2017. That's like, you could have been done with whatever I wanted 4 years ago. We would have moved on already, clean books, whatever pick started for, you know what I mean? Like you got to try in certain pockets of space. So I just need to see them try, man. And like we're hearing from Kevin O'Connor, there's no no interest in Alec Burks. He did not mince words, right? So no interest whatsoever in Alec Burks. I mean that doesn't sound good. So we know the Knicks were interested in moving Fournier, right? We keep hearing that. We've heard Kemba since the beginning of the season, right? And we haven't heard anybody interested in Kemba, just that the Knicks are shopping him. So that's sad. Fournier, we know at least for Jake Fisher reported the Knicks were in on Karis LeVert till the 12th hour, basically. And it seemed like something more Fournier LeVert swap, which is sure, I guess. But it just seemed like, none of these are like true big swings. It's more like they're still trying to like be very even about what they give out and get back. And, they're not really going for a lot of high upside. So I'm just a little bit confused. I just want to see, they know something's got to happen. If you're waiting to this offseason, then what's the big move in the offseason? Like Shaun said, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on all this stuff. This is why I'm trying to recap all of it. But it's like, you mentioned even about Brogdon. It's like, I like Brogdon. I know we all like Brogdon. This is something we've mentioned before. But he is injured a lot. He's injured all the fucking time. So and again, he's not a young guy either, actually. He's an older guy too. So he was just an old rookie. So now he's old already. You know what I mean? So would I take him? Probably. But it's like, we always end up like way further down the totem pole of the guys we should be going after instead of just ripping the Band-Aid off, finally being a little bit aggressive, giving up that extra young guy, giving up that extra pick this one time. You know what I mean? Like, and just getting the fucking deal done. Because it just feels like we're always too hesitant. And so we miss out on the good deals. And nobody's available. Then we cry about how nobody's available. And then we got to wait another. Well, don't worry. Just wait till this offseason. Don't worry. Just wait till 2024 free agency. Don't worry. Just wait till the 2025 draft. And it's like, well, when? What about today? Just one time. What about today? You don't gotta sell everything, but you could sell a decent amount and still get something good. So I just feel like there's a lot of guys to be had every year. We just never go in.
Yeah, like the McCollum trade had. I mean, I don't know what the final offer was, or if the offer was even made by the Knicks. They should have went like not all in, obviously, but they should have made every effort to beat a deal that was centered around Josh Hart. Unless I'm really missing something, because he expires in 2024 when I think Towns becomes a free agent, and just a lot more people are hitting free agency in 2024 and beyond. So that would have kept them on that same timeline while making them infinitely more watchable right now, addressing the point guard situation because Kemba has been a disaster the last few weeks. Fournier's actually been very good. So I think there's still an outside chance that he should be dealt at the deadline because he has proven kind of what they were looking at when they signed him in the offseason. And then Burks and Noel, those guys just got to go. So they have to do something. That point is something has to be done, whether it's to just almost tank for this season in terms of just getting all the starting guys, the young guys playing time, or because it looks like the marginal move to get slightly better is evaporating. I don't know how you guys feel about Barnes. I brought it up earlier, but Barnes would only hinder Cam Reddish minutes, so I'm good on that. I don't know what other marginal deal is out there. I just think they should start proceeding to offload Deadwood mode because these guys just aren't that good. And Burks, last few weeks it's hard to watch. He was absolutely awful last night. He got crushed by Donovan Mitchell, and every jump shot is just flat.
Yeah, I'm ready to stop watching Alec Burks. Ready to stop watching Kemba Walker. Ready to stop watching Ernest Noel. Those are my three demands for the trade deadline. That's it. Those guys have to be gone. I don't care how they get out. I just want them gone. I would love for Evan to be gone. I feel like he has played himself into being tradable. If people are interested, I understand if they can't, whatever. If the interest isn't there, I get it. But if it's for lack of value, I'll be mad. Like if anybody wants Evan, even if they're only giving a second round pick, like I don't know, you probably got to do other things to make the money work, but get him out. Then as far as what's left, I mean, I really don't know. I don't really know what's out there, but I think that one thing this trade showed us that we don't know who's available. Like that's what the homie said, Shaun said earlier today, and I was like, that's a great point. Like I didn't know that Tyrese Halliburton was available. So maybe somewhere around the league, somewhere else, there's something that they're working on. I can only hope so because we really do need to move. Like we need to make some move. Like as I just said, we all say it all the time. Like just make a move. Like you can figure it out from there. Like you can pivot and like if you trade for a guy with like I don't know, man. Like, I think of D'Angelo Russell as an example sometimes, and it's like we could have went and got D'Angelo Russell. Would it have made us a championship contender right away? No. Would we have a point guard right now? Yeah, and we wouldn't have. It wouldn't have cost us much. Right now, if you could just say, "Hey, you want D'Angelo Russell on this team," I feel like most people would say yes. Like I would like D'Angelo Russell on this team if he was available somehow. Like he would like so. It's just like we have to take those chances. It can't be well he's not the best thing in the world. So like nah, like you figure it out from there. Like he can't be a number one on a contender. Like that's a very short list of people in this league, bro. Like just figure it out, steps at a time, brick by brick. But like you have to make a move. I really don't want to watch this team that we've been watching all season, but I'm prepared to if there's nothing else available and nothing out there, just get off the vets that are here and play the rest of the season and let the kids figure it out and play. And first of all, I don't think that playing Grimes getting more minutes makes us a better basketball team. I think that Deuce has only been it's been summer. I mean, it's been G League, but I mean, it's still very impressive, and he's still a very good defender. And if he has good shoot, like those are skills that translate. So it's like bring him over, like let him play. If you have 24 minutes for Kemba, there are minutes available for Deuce McBride. I'm sorry, like do that, figure that out. I'd rather go that route. If Deuce has an off game, if Deuce goes back, like when Deuce scored 0 points, he was a plus 40. Like when Kemba scores 0 points, it's not plus anything. So you have to make those moves. I would hope that maybe there's maybe the Spurs are stupid. Like somebody was like, oh, this trade, you never know. Like you can make a package for DeJounte Murray. I was like, well, the Spurs are like the antithesis of the Kings. Like that's dealing with two completely different organizations. But maybe the Spurs are like, hey, they want to punt it further down the line. I don't know. Like you give them Julius and 3 first-round picks or whatever. I don't care, but like do something. Like and not just do something, but like be aggressive. Don't let things be happening. And the reason that we're not in on them is because we're not being aggressive enough. Like that CJ trade package, like you said, like I don't think that's a trade package we couldn't beat. I feel like we can comfortably beat that trade package. And like it's something that none of us would really flinch at, honestly. And then you add CJ McCollum, and okay, is that the end all be all answer? Like is CJ McCollum a guy who's gonna make you a championship contender tomorrow? No, but does he make your team better and fill the need today? Yes. So I really hope that's not why we're not doing anything, because we're not willing to move off of a 2 first-round picks and I don't know. You got to make moves. You have to do something, and because there is no like a silver lining in the offseason, really, like you were just saying. Like Brogdon is an injured guy; he'll probably be available though. Like most players have found a home, whatever. I don't know, man. Brunson's about to get paid. Like the free agency doesn't really exist anymore. Like so, just like you have to take the chances when they're available.
I think the only two guys that are realistically available, I'm talking about guys that would make like the team infinitely better, are Donovan Mitchell and Shai Gilgeous. Shai Gilgeous, I'm not waiting on just because OKC, they just make trades where they win in a landslide. I think, like we said last episode, I do think Mitchell, there is a chance there. And if shit goes left with the Jazz in the playoffs, then it becomes real. But even then, I just don't see why you don't give like clear space for Deuce and Cam Reddish, because one problem with the defense that I've had is this defense, you guys are both Jets fans like me, their defense is similar to the Jets, where sure they might be good, like in terms of down low, but they don't get turnovers. They play really slow, and Kemba gets killed. Evan Fournier is not a good defender. It's really just RJ, Randall, when Randall's trying, and Mitch. So just shaking up, they need to shake up the starting lineup. And Thibodeau, who, by the way, should have zero goodwill, all the goodwill that he won from Coach of the Year should be gone. Because if he really pushed for Fournier over DeMar, doesn't like Cam Reddish, I don't understand what this guy is seeing, but his goodwill needs to be ridden of because that's embarrassing. Anyway, they need to just clear out. If he's not going to if Thibodeau's not going to move these veterans who are just killing the vibe, like Nerlens Noel playing against small ball lineups, Alec Burks playing point guard, period. If Thibodeau's not going to be smart about it, then the front office has to start to step in on that.
Yeah. It always just seems like the names that we're interested in aren't the ones that we should be. is the best way to put it. Like, for example, it's Berman, of course, little disclaimer, it's Berman. Take it with a grain of salt. But apparently we're interested in Harrison Barnes is the other thing that came out at some point today. And it's like, for fucking why? Why would we be interested in Harrison Barnes, who plays almost exclusively power forward at this point? Who I like Harrison Barnes. He's a perfectly solid, good player, right? Like he's carved out a good career being, that owning that little gray space between mediocre starter and fringe all-star. Like not even all-star, like fringe all-star. The space between mediocre starter and fringe all-star, comfortably below the fringe all-star part, but comfortably above being totally mediocre is Harrison Barnes. Nothing wrong with him. Good player. But why? Why? You have Julius already, right? Who hasn't moved, and you wouldn't move him for a Harrison Barnes deal. That makes it's a disgusting thing to even think about. So what are you bringing him in for? You're gonna play him at the 3? I don't understand that. Obi's minutes probably disappear. So then again, what's the plan for Obi, right? What would be the point of Harrison Barnes? I just don't quite understand it, why are we not, this hot on Jalen Brunson even? I understand he's most likely staying in Dallas now. I saw Dallas, I don't know, they're going to try to keep him, whatever, but it's like, why are we not, you hear about teams being hot on somebody's case. No, they really want this guy. They're really trying to get this guy. Why are we never it's always we just move on to another dude. And it's always it could be a name out of a hat. It feels like there's never really a clear plan. So I think that to me is the most frustrating part. I don't get this Harrison Barnes nonsense at all. I think it's
idiotic.
It's like when we were interested in Andre Drummond for no reason at all. It was
yeah.
It's again, that was Berman, but I was why? Why Andre Drummond? Why do you look at this team and go, Andre Drummond is what this team needs? How do you look at this team right now and go, missing a Harrison Barnes? Nobody would say that. Nobody would say that. Not a single sane person who watches basketball knows what's happening would look at that court and go, oof, if they had a Harrison Barnes right now, that's what they need. I'm telling you, they don't need to waste time with this inefficient, Chuck or De'Aaron Fox. What they need right now is a Harrison. Nobody says that. It's not a thing. So why are we interested in Harrison Barnes? Allegedly, it doesn't.
If it's 1-for-1 for Fournier, I'll be okay with it. That's probably the only way, just because I want to get rid of that contract.
But then it's a weird logjam.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I think it's a stupid trade. Or actually, Fournier and Noel. I really want Noel gone more than anybody. Now that I'm really thinking about it, but that's the only way I want Barnes in, if he's clearing one of those two, because those two are just dead money.
Yeah, I don't think the Barnes thing is real, but I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I feel like with this front office, we didn't really hear anything about the Derrick Rose trade before it happened. We heard a little bit about Cam Reddish, but not for what it was reported for. I feel like we don't hear a lot about things. I feel like they're pretty close to the vest. But also, some things sound believable sometimes and things make sense. So I kind of just choose to believe things on if it makes sense to me or not. And the Harrison Barnes thing doesn't make any sense to me. So I just tell myself that they're better than that. I've been somebody who's champion this front office and giving them their props and praises. But that Tyrese Halliburton deal today was a moment for me where I was like, whoa, okay. Now they're on a little bit of a watch at the trade deadline. That just makes me look at this with the cost of things that are happening right now. Maybe like you said, it's in the summer. They're waiting for the inevitable Jazz exit before the Western Conference Finals and for Donovan Mitchell to say, I don't want to be here anymore. I haven't wanted to be here for years. Please move me. And then they're saving the assets for that. Maybe that's the case. But either way, you still have to get these bets out of here. But yeah, we have to see a direction like that. That's I don't know. I don't know what the direction is, so I can't say, oh, they're not trading for Harrison Barnes. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't think that's real. I never thought the Drummond thing was a real thing. I hoped it wasn't. But yeah, I don't know, because even if it was for Fournier, there's not too many people in the world that if we traded Fournier away, I'd be mad about getting him back. But it just wouldn't make much sense. I feel like whatever happens right now, we need to be prioritizing having Quentin Grimes on the floor, RJ on the floor, as much as they can be on the floor. Mitchell Robinson needs to be a priority, of course, which doesn't really matter because he's only battling himself right now in terms of conditioning. So yeah, like just it's simple. Like we don't have to make the big swing if there's no big swing to make, whatever. But still, at least make a base hit. Don't just stand there and look at every pitch come by and nah, come on.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say on that note too about just the overall aggressiveness is like, Shaun mentioned right, like those arguments we always hear are like, oh, he can't. Is he going to be the best player in a contender? Is he going to be this guy in a contender? Why are we always focused on like title contender? Like we need to be playoff contenders first. Like you can scale slowly. Not everything's like save everything for 10 years. LeBron James is available. We trade all of it for LeBron. We make the finals. Like that's not always the path. Like not every team, very rarely do teams get that situation where they get somebody of top two, three talent at any given time in the last 10 years that just comes to their team for free, right? It's a very rare thing. It's a big deal when it happens. Most of the time, you have to do trades. You have to do things to build up, to get attractive pieces to trade to people. Like this is the same team from last year that was sort of half-assly put together. You know what I mean? It's like largely the same team, almost entirely the same team. And then it's like a couple of rookies and Evan Fournier, Kemba, and bang. And it's like, well, you didn't really do much. You didn't really do much. The one big swing you took was on Fournier after everybody else seemed to dry up and disappear, right? So then it was just Fournier. We have to take a swing this time for some reason. But it's like, you can own up to your mistakes. You can move guys, right? But like, why not? Like Shaun said, get the big hit. Why are we worried about a home run? Like you worry about saying we say this a lot, but like worry about getting to the second round. How are we getting to the second round? Not just to the playoffs again. How are we getting to the second round? Let's just not championship, nothing. What does a second round team out east look like? What are the teams we could pencil in to be a second round team almost immediately? And what do we do to be like in contention with those teams? And scale it that way. Like I don't ever think about when we're talking about team building, like, man, who's going to get us to be the 2 seed out east right now? Like, who's going to get us to be immediate where we could win a title? Because those guys aren't available. You don't hear about them being available, and they won't be available. And it takes like a really dramatic drama situation, like maybe we get with Donovan Mitchell, right, to get out. But generally, or like Ben Simmons, it takes a really big thing now, right? But generally, like you got to start somewhere. You got to get the B+ players. You got to get the A- players. Like you got to get some of those guys when you can, and then win a bunch of games together, put some semblance of a good identity together, and then okay, where do we go from here? Like you can pivot. You can still move guys who were very good. They probably will remain very good for a couple of years, and then you could still do something with it. Like they don't just turn to ash when you get them. Like it's not. Even CJ, I heard a lot of that too. Like we're like, oh, you think CJ is good? 32-year-old CJ McCall. And I'm like, yeah, actually, he's pretty fucking good, guys. Like, I don't know, like, what the discourse is with how we have to talk about players anymore, because it seems like every time we talk about somebody that makes money or that's uh, a 20 point per game, 25 point per game guy, we always have to talk about suddenly why they suck. It's news to me that these guys who are always good, suck. I had no idea. So yeah, I mean, he's good. He's good. Is he perfect? No, he's not an all-star. Like fringe, right? Just underneath, like that Mike Conley tier for a long time. You could be very good for a while. That's fine. I would take very good. We don't have very good at that position, Like you can take that. That's an okay thing. So I just want, I just wish fans would think more that way, because it's like, all right, yeah, then when we get to that level, right? Then when we're getting to the second round, back-to-back years, we can't win. Well, now what do we got to do? Now who's the best guy who gets us to be a title contender? You know what I mean? Like that's how, to me, it should work. If everybody talks about the rebuild, like we've been in the rebuild. We had the young parts of the rebuild, even if it looked ugly with RJ Barrett, right? Started his rookie year with Randall, like they were disgusting. It was a terrible team. That was still part of a youth movement, right? Mitch was playing, like guys were playing. It wasn't perfect or pretty, but it's part of it. And they started to win more games, and they got to be a little bit better. Now you're trying to figure out how to get back to the play. This is all part of it. You shouldn't be looking to go backwards. Like you got to keep scaling and adding. So we'll see. But like Harrison Barnes, like these names that have come up have not excited me. Like Shaun said, maybe somebody else is available we don't know about. I'm not super angry about the CJ trade or anything. I just, everybody likes to throw that shit in your face if you're not super clear. I'm not angry, but it's just like,
I'll be the angry one. I still think that's stupid. Isn't he 30 years old? He's 30.
Oh, 30?
He's like 30 on the dot, I believe. Maybe even 29.
I misspoke. I said 32. I'm sorry, CJ
No,
McCollum. He's even younger.
But people do this, and that's what pissed me off with the Fox discourse, too. Okay, maybe he's not making you a title contender, but let's say you want to talk about a big package for Donovan Mitchell in a year or two. You could then put Fox into that deal because Fox is tied up for 5 years. Like, people just are so fucking one side, like one track mind, because they want to make sure that the young player that they're obsessing over on the timeline ends up reaching their max potential. So everyone else is a bum. It's just useless discourse. And really, like, that's not how team building is. Every good team, even the best of the best, constantly retool. Show me one team that stand pat for 5 years without making any moves. You can't. You have to continue to get better. And that's where people are just, I don't know what the fuck they're doing or thinking, but Knicks got to do something. Point blank.
Yeah, and we really do have, because the thing is, like, I hate to speak on these hypothetically sometimes, especially in hindsight, but like I would have been when I look at this, I can't help it. Like when I look at the CJ trade package, I'm just like, yo, like that is not much. I feel like we could have beat that. You could have gave him 2 first-round picks even. You could have given him, like, I would have even been open to trading IQ in that trade. I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to, but if I woke up and got a notification that we traded for CJ McCollum and the biggest piece we gave up was IQ, I'd have been like, damn, that hurts. But especially with the way things are going right now, how we're not even fully using him in his position, like, or how we're not sure what we want to do with him. We refuse to start him a point guard. Like, if you to solve, like, you got to give something to get something. If to solve a problem and plug this position, you ended up giving up something that I would have been open to it. So the fact that I would have been open to that, it just doesn't make sense. Like if you have CJ McCollum, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, that's a good basketball team.
That's a really good basketball.
I think that's a very good basketball team. CJ's 30. You got maybe 2 or 3 more years at least of him doing what he's doing right now. Like, I don't think that there's going to be, it's not like his game is like heavily predicated on athleticism or anything like that. Like CJ McCollum is going to be the same thing he is right now for the next at least 2 to 3 years. So it's like that gives you a chance, with RJ is coming up, you got another legitimate perimeter scorer. You can have somebody take pressure on Julius. You can put the ball in his hands. He is a point guard. He was kind of playing out of position just because he was a Dame. Like it gives you the scoring punch you need. So that's the thing. Because there was an available route that solved so many problems, even if you had to sacrifice things I necessarily wouldn't want to sacrifice, it was available. And that's how you have to be able to make decisions. You have to take a chance. You have to be aggressive. And you have to solve a problem instead of trying to punt everything. You cannot end up, I do not want to end up like with the whole Danny Ainge thing of we had these assets, we had these, and everything just disappeared and it didn't become this, it didn't become that. We didn't cash in on guys when we were supposed to, like whatever it may be. So if we do nothing at the deadline, and I know that was available and that was the cost, that's going to be kind of hurtful. And, I'm tired of saying, all right, well, here comes summer. Let's hope for something, because we hope for something like Kyle said, the team was kind of thrown together at first, even the first time. So then they ran it back with a team that was already thrown together. But at 6:01, when the first notification I got was that we signed Nerlens Noel, I was so sick. I was like, this is what I was excited for free agency for, so we can re-sign Nerlens Noel. Then I got another notification. Alec Burks re-signed. I almost threw up. I was like, yo, what is going on? Like, and Alec Burks is cool, but it was just like, I think, I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. And then this Fournier, like I tried to talk myself into it. Like it was like, all right, it's an upgrade over Reggie. Everyone knows how Kyle responded. Like it's just like, so it's like these weren't good. Like it's not like we made any. Like I'm tired of looking to summer. All right, well hopefully this summer there's a move, somebody's available. We have all these assets, because now we're not going to have these assets after this draft. We don't really have like a surplus to pick anymore. Like we have Dallas at 23 pick.
Then a bunch
That's
of
it.
It gets normal then. It gets normal. And then you drafted all the kids and they're all on the roster. More than half of them aren't going to play. And now what the fuck are we doing? Because the minute you select the kids, they lose value. The minute you select and it's somebody else and the team didn't make the decision, immediately lose most of its value. About 10 to 15% of the time in total of who you draft, they pan out to be a starting level player or better, 85% of the time, no matter what you do, they're going to stink it up. 85% of the time. It's really difficult to hit on guys in the draft. And why keep all of the picks and then waste all of the picks if they can't play? It makes no sense. You just mathematics. It's like an algebra equation. Like you just gotta. It makes no sense to keep them. There's no logical end game that they could be pointing to. Like we're not the Thunder, with like 15 spots open for G League talent, and we could just keep loading up on a whole new 5-6 draft crop of players. Like that's not how this is. You got all these veterans trying to win games too. So what is it? What is the plan? I think that's what a lot of people are asking themselves today. What is the plan? We don't know. We don't know what direction they want to go in. They're unclear about it.
There should be doing nothing is an absolute disaster. Like that would just prove there's no plan. They don't know what they're doing yet. If they do make, I don't know what the word is, but a concerted effort to do something, either build out the team that brings out the best in RJ, which I'm not comparing apples to apples that RJ is James Harden, but RJ's proven in this recent stretch that he's a very good driver and he's very good at drawing fouls. So if you just put people like Quentin Grimes around him and keep Mitch the rim runner, build a team out like that if you are going to do something like of worth. Otherwise, just clear the dead wood, bring Deuce in, play Cam, like start to, build up the youth guys, build up some excitement heading into the summer because look at Alec Burks' excitement. It's zero. Nerlens Noel's probably even lower than zero if that's even possible. So I like doing something. You have to do something. Like something has to happen by 3 p.m.
I think from that very first game against the Spurs, like the very first time I saw them on the floor together, I was like, oh yeah. Like the first time I saw them run a pick and roll, I was like, we need to build this team around RJ and Mitchell Robinson. Like I've always thought the world of Mitchell Robinson. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he's like, and he's seeing him come into that, dominate games the way he has recently. Like when he's dominating the way he is and RJ's running the offense and everybody knows high screens, like I feel like we're a very dangerous team. So yeah, we really should build the roster kind of around. You got Mitchell, you got, you have your 5, you have your anchor, you have your rim running big. He's like really good. He's grabbing boards, he's getting offensive rebounds, he's changing shots at the rim, all that stuff. You've got that. You've got RJ, who's a really good two-way. You've got Grimes. I feel like Grimes, like you said, he fits really well next to RJ. He doesn't really need the ball in his hands, and he's gonna, grow as a scorer as time goes. Yeah, like I just think that's how we should be playing basketball. Even part of the reason I want guys getting out is because I want to see us playing different basketball after this. Like I want to watch us run, like consistently. Like after the trade deadline, like I want to see a team that pushes the pace, gets up the floor, and like tries to force turnovers, take advantage of turnovers, get out. Like we aren't playing well in the half court, especially not for extended and not consistently. So run and get more opportunities and like maybe unlock different parts of certain players. Like we have a team. I'm so tired of saying. I'm tired of saying most things about this team, which is why I need us to make moves. I'm tired of talking about this team. If we have to cover this team for the rest of the year, goodness, bro. Like you see, the board says, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." Like I'm tired. Like,
yeah, it's just they have no good. Like they have an offense that's built. If you have like Kevin Durant or like somebody that can really score in the half court, the only person that's even coming close to that right now with a half court bag is RJ, and he's not there yet. So running would really be the way to go, and they could still do that with Randall. I know Randall is still trying to become like he's still 1B or 1A, whatever you want to say. But even he's being misused. I think you can use him as a small ball 5 in stretches, and Thibodeau's not even doing that. So I really think Thibodeau is becoming the real problem here. I think he's just stuck in his own ways, and I really think. I mean, I know we fought for years for coaches to have full control, but I think Thibodeau's a case where you kind of just have to give him the pieces and let him work out because if he has control, we're already seeing what that's looking like.
Yeah, I mean, this is, reportedly Tibbs wanted Evan Fournier, which still blows my mind.
That's wild.
That's a conclusion that he came to on his own. I don't get, of all the times when we say like, oh, that guy's a Tibbs player, we always say things like, we know what he likes, like the physical short point guards, right? He likes those guys. We've seen a bunch of different guys like that fit that mold, right? Derrick Rose, obviously, Taj Gibson. These guys who work really hard, who never really stop, who always give you good minutes. What they're bringing to the table. And it's really an every night thing. Like when Derrick Rose plays bad, normally it's like very noticeable when he's healthy and rolling. Like it's both ends of the ball now too. Like there was a stretch for like a week where he was playing like dog shit this year. It was like the only week, and I was just so like, it was so stark. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he's not making anything. He's got 5 turnovers in 12 minutes. Like this is not. You know what I mean? Like it was very obvious. And then he went right back to like, all right, I'm good again. I had a good game, and he's rolling. Like you know what you're getting from Tibbs players. I'm like, Fournier is not that guy. So I'm confused by
I
that.
think he is that. I think, not to cut you off, but outside of Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler, what Thibodeau guy is actually very good? Like all I know, like when you say Thibodeau guy, I just know, all right, this guy's a hardo. He's gonna go hard for 48 minutes. I don't think that translates to being good. I think Rose and Butler are the only guys that I can say are good Thibodeau guys. The rest of the guys are just gonna play defense. Like, congratulations. We need to score points.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're not off, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. You would just think like, I just don't get a Fournier was the guy. I just can't. I can't imagine Tom Thibodeau sitting in his office watching Evan Fournier film, like games after game after game. He's just chewing on a Orlando Magic tape late on a Tuesday night. It's like 1 a.m. He's just watching Magic footage, and he's like, man, this is the fucking guy. I need this guy. I'm marching in tomorrow. I'm talking to Wes, I'm talking to Leon. This is the guy. They got to get me him. I don't care what it costs. Give him $20 million a year. You got to get this guy. I can't imagine how that could have happened. Like I would pay good money to have been a fly on the wall when Tibbs had the epiphany that it had to be Evan Fournier. I wish I could have been there or in his brain as it happened. I would love to have known how he ended up on that guy. That to me is like, of all the mysteries this year, that to me is like maybe my favorite one, because I can't, no matter which way I try to make it like happen in my head, it's just not, it doesn't work. It doesn't, it's an unbelievable, it really is truly unbelievable.
I'm just I'm scared. I'm scared because I'm scared that we're gonna get like, I'm like, okay, there's no news coming today. We're about to play a game. I doubt we're gonna drop trade news during the game. And I'm like, okay, can I wake up? Like I woke up this morning, like 7:30. I was like, nah, too early. Nothing will drop yet. And I went back to sleep. So I was like, I want to wake up to somebody being off this team. And unfortunately, I wasn't that fortunate. So, the beautiful thing about the American dream, man, we get to try again tomorrow. So I'm really hoping I wake up to a trade tomorrow. But then at that point, then the clock starts. That's show 24. Like that's all I'm going to hear that whole time until like, that's the worst feeling, because we felt that feeling before, but it's never been like, there's been times where I wanted something to happen at the deadline, but I feel like it was never because we were like in this position of, okay, we've got a solid team currently if we make the right moves and we can we just came off a playoff run. And even if not, we're trying to pivot to the right thing future wise, whatever. Like, I feel like there's never been this much like necessity at the trade deadline. Like, yo, this needs to happen. There may be things I wanted to happen. We have things that need to happen. So like, I know the feeling all the time of like, 2:57, and it's like, oh my goodness, like this is, please, I need a notification in these next 2 minutes. And then 3:02 comes and it's like, haven't got anything yet. Like, hopefully something comes late through the league office, like that one time in 2004. Like, it's not happening. So I don't want that this year, man. I need to wake up to a trade tomorrow. I can't deal with the stress and anxiety. It's too much. There's already too much going on. I can't do it.
I'm already preparing for the Knicks checked in on so and so, but deal never materialized. Because I guarantee we're going to get at least 2 clips of that, of a certain player that got dealt that we didn't expect to get dealt. They're like, well, the Knicks did check in, but ultimately decided the price was too high. Guarantee.
Always happens, man. It happens every single time. It never makes any sense. So I mean, we'll see what happens tonight. But the last thing I wanted to get to here, because we got a mailbag to get to also, and we also have Charles Oakley joining us on the back half of this pod to talk about his book, The Last Enforcer. So a couple things we got to get to here, but in not trade news, another Jake Fisher nugget from today was that the Knicks are focused on re-signing Mitchell Robinson, which, yeah, sure. I think we've all been, hoping that Mitch would get extended or paid. I think, RJ and Mitch were the ones that you assumed were gonna probably get paid, assuming they didn't trade them to this point. Mitch, it seems like I know, everybody's on pins and needles, so I know when he was announced out today, everybody was like, "Oh no, here we go. This smells like." I saw a bunch of replies in the PR that, "Oh man, what this smells like a Mitch trade." I don't know, like, right, relax a little bit. Maybe you never know. It could be anything, but it seems like the Knicks intend to pay him. Which I mean, he got robbed on his rookie contract. I mean, an abysmal. I would say the guy who made the deal should get fired, but he got fired, and then so did like 6 other guys. So I mean, somebody better make sure Mitch gets paid. But I want to open it up to you guys, at least on that discussion, because I know we talked about the other night in the post game, one of the post game spaces, Shaun, about what he could be worth, and there were a sizable amount of Knicks fans that were pretty convinced he was going to get $20-25 million a year. I just want to know where you guys are at with what you think he'll get paid, and just overall, feelings on that, because that seemed to be the one good silver lining thing that came out of today.
Personally, I didn't know he was out tonight. That actually has me very, very sad. Because that means one more Nerlens Noel, which is the worst thing possible.
No,
Nerlens out. He's out too.
Nerlens is also out.
It's gonna be a
Nerlens is
bloodbath.
also out. Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
Joker versus Taj.
Well, yeah. Let me actually read you the tweet, because there was a sizable amount of people who were actually ruled out today, and it was a bit jarring. Hold on, here we go. Okay, the official tweet was out. So Quentin Grimes is out with a sore left knee. Nerlens Noel is out, also with a sore left knee. Mitchell Robinson is out with a sore lower back. Derrick Rose is, of course, still out. So that's basically it. Now, this comes a night after Mitchell Robinson, was just an absolute monster in Utah.
Best game of his career, easily.
Best game of his career, set a career high in rebounds. An absolute Mitchell Robinson masterclass. They lost, but he was 19 points, 21 rebounds, even had an assist, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Got to the line 6 times. Just, 10 of those boards were offensive rebounds, by the way. And I also only somehow had 1 foul. Like, that's about
on top of those 3 blocks. Oh, my bad. On top of those 3 blocks, he changed so many shots. Like, he was wildly impactful last night. And him being out tonight is going to suck. But beyond that, I hope that's not anything trade related. I don't think it is. I think it would be kind of stupid to trade Mitch. But as far as what to pay him, I feel like we've done it a few times where we like compare it to the Robert Williams deal, which is 4 years, $54 million. And I think it would be somewhere around there. I think if he keeps playing like he is right now, like he's on a great stretch right now. I think if he keeps playing the way he is right now, he might make his way up to 4 years, 60, maybe even 65 even. I don't think it would get to the 20 a year range. Jared Allen got that, but it was kind of wild when he did. But I don't think that's really the market. But either way, man, I'm gonna be happy for Mitch when he gets his bag. He deserves it, because he did really go through a lot. He got ripped off terribly.
Yeah, he had a Scottie Pippen-esque setup during his rookie deal. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Shaun. I think 60 mil should probably be the ceiling, 15 per year. I think 50 million over 4 years. Sorry. I think that's the sweet spot you want to get him at, 12 and a half. And you could probably still get that maybe with incentives like the Sixers had when Embiid, can build that up to 17 per year or 15 per year, depending on what the initial price tag is. But talent-wise, I think the talent's there. He proves that he wants to work. He's always been a gym rat. He's out of shape now, but I feel like that's more to injuries than anything, because he's always been getting better. His fouls have come way down. Very rare do you see the stupid fouls that he was making in his first couple years. So I think you reward people that put in the work. And I really do think they can get him at 12 and a half per year, because his paid, what is he making now? Like $1.5 million? That's a joke. So I think anything is a vast upgrade for him. And I find it very hard to believe anyone's going to beat 12 and a half per year. But if that is the case, like I said, I would make 15 my limit.
Yeah, I think he could get 15. I always like to give gaps, like a big gap where I think because you never. The thing with this stuff too is a lot of people always like to. I bring this up a lot. People got to understand, even fans, the business of basketball. Um, you know, guys might want certain figures or numbers versus what the team might offer versus what somebody else may have got on a comparable deal. So it's not always like, well, Jared Allen got 25 million, and I personally think he's as good as Jared Allen, therefore he should get paid 25. It doesn't really work that way. So I think 12 to me, it's like 12, 13 is like what he should get. I think what he should get if the Knicks are being, a little more generous with it, and it's still perfectly fine, is like 15. I think 12 to 15 is like probably where he should be. If it was like just above that, I don't think I'd be that upset. I think if it was like, once you start getting to 20 million and up in that territory, I think for a guy who, again, as great as he is defensively and as great as he's really been recently since he started to round into shape, um, I don't think he's undeserving. But I think when, we see deals like that with centers sometimes, and then those guys, they're like high floor. They'll help you have a higher floor, but like the ceiling doesn't really help you all the way. So they're a perfectly great piece to have for some period of time. You know what I mean? But it's like, are they really worth 20 and up? I think you can question that when there's limitations on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously the offensive rebounding help. He's got good awareness around the rim for the putbacks, things like that. It's not like an unimportant thing, but I think we're trying to play fast, score more points. You know what I mean? It's like, how much does he really help on the offensive side of the ball that way? And especially, we talked about how they don't even run the offense optimally, where we're running pick and rolls. Where you have two high flyers on this team, as far as I'm concerned, one on the bench, one on the starting group, and you don't really let them fly as much as they should. Like Mitchell Robinson should always be up there trying to catch them. Just should be. And if he's not, then Obi Toppin should be in there trying to catch something. Like you should always have the threat of somebody doing that. But we don't really scare anybody that way, so it is what it is. So maybe he could be more involved offensively. I don't know, but I just still think there's kind of a cap on what he brings to you in that aspect. So I don't know. I mean, I think anywhere from like 40, high 40s to like 60s, probably his territory, thereabouts. I mean, we'll see what he ends up getting. I would assume he probably wants to get paid. I know he got ripped off from that first deal, so he's going to want to get paid. I'm not saying that in like a selfish way, but like in a deserving way, he should want to. And then depends how much he wants to push from there. I think, he's probably going to want Robert Williams' money. I think that's probably fair. We'll see how far north or, whatever he gets of it. But that's kind of what I've been thinking just for him. I thought Jared Allen was more like situational with how he got paid, in fairness. I didn't think that was like, and he's having like a near all-star level season too. So I'm not trying to like diminish what he's doing. He's been really, like, really terrific. But I think when he got paid, it was more, well, it was just after a big trade, right? Or the Nets didn't do it. It was after he got traded. He got paid with the Cavs. So the Cavs were just locking in immediately a guy that a good young talent they traded for, which is reasonable. It's sort of what you do. I thought it was a bit much, but it's not to really even make fun of Cleveland on this podcast, because they're doing like a tremendous job this season. They're one of the best surprises, if not the best in the NBA. But it's hard to sign free agents for certain cities. Just is like when LeBron was there, it was easier for obvious reasons. But in general, it's hard for certain, like Utah, right? Utah doesn't get anybody. That's why you signed Rudy Gobert to a $200-something million deal. Like, like that's sometimes you just do it. So I understood that for Jared Allen. That's what I felt. This was before Mobley even. So there's no guarantees you had a good big man. You thought you were locking in a good defensive anchor for the future. I thought it was more like they were the only buyers given the trade, and the context was they had to pay it. I don't know. I thought that was different. I didn't think it's like open market, like everyone's chucking 20 million at Mitchell Robinson. The only way to get him is if you pay 25. I didn't think it didn't feel like that to me. So it's good that they're trying to take care of him at least. I thought, even if you're not aggressive, even if you don't make all the trades you want, or at least locking up Mitch, that to me, for all the talk about like Fournier being a trade chip this year, which I always thought was hilarious because you see how hard it is to move him now. Like Mitchell Robinson would genuinely be a trade chip, not in a I'm trying to get rid of him way, but like you now have a very impactful center on a deal that isn't going to kill anybody's cap. Like he could come in on almost, I mean, a number of teams' rosters at like even like 15 to 17 million, right? For what he brings in terms of defensive impact when he's rolling like this as a starter. So like it's not unreasonable to think even like, oh, 2 years down the line, we're really trying to swing for a star or whatever. Yeah, it sucks, but Mitchell Robinson's a real good player, good contract, helps us make the money work, whatever. We could part ways with him. Like that's a real trade piece. Like not just we signed Noel to a bullshit 3-year deal trade piece. Like this is a real trade piece. So that's how you keep a young player. You pay him, and you kind of keep your option open in the future a little bit too. So that would be a deal I'd be very interested in. I think he deserves to get paid, and I'd like to see it. And finally, we start getting some of these young guys paid here. Because it never happens. Never happens. Charlie Ward curse. Nobody ever gets paid. It'd be nice to see Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett collect some New York Knicks checks on a second contract. Just would be. But let's get to the mailbag. Just want to hop in because people were feisty today, and rightfully so. So there was a lot of things that people wanted to either ask or just kind of vent about, whatever. So first one I'm going to read is from at MJK_NY31. Our guy Doc. Why would we trade a first for Cam just to never play him and then go and thirst over Harrison Barnes?
I'd love to know.
Excellent question.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
But that's why I've chosen to believe it's not true. That's my advice. If it doesn't make sense to you, just tell yourself it's not true. You don't have to face the music until it really happens. And most times nothing will happen. So just tell yourself it's not true, man. Don't stress yourself out over things that aren't going to happen. Wait till they do and then be mad or figure out how you feel.
Words of wisdom.
Our buddy Brian Gibberman, will Kyle take his anger out more on Mike or Shaun? Surprisingly tame tonight. I think everybody's maybe surprised. I'm waiting for the Thursday night reaction pod to go nuclear. I'm trying to conserve my energy. I almost gave myself a stroke last week, stressing out. I'm trying to chill out right now. So let me just, Thursday they don't make any moves. We lose it. Tonight the boys are safe from this podcast. Everybody can breathe easy. I'm just trying to find another question. Another question here from at Eric S. Vogel. My question is, what the hell is even going on?
That is a loaded question and a very good one. Like I said, if they do nothing, there's literally no answer to that question. If they do something, like we'll know what's going on after the deadline. But doing nothing is literally just going to make things worse.
So much worse. Yeah, that's another question. Can't answer until Thursday either. Because I'm with Kyle. Like, on Thursday, if nothing happens, I'm coming on here. Like, don't listen to this with your kids around. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we'll see what happens there. I don't love it, man. I just don't. They have to make a move. I don't know how else to say it. They have to make a move. I don't know what's going on. I wish they were more aggressive. Every week it seems like I say the same thing, and I just want them to do stuff. I just want my team to be good, and we've already seen these guys on this team for multiple seasons now. Like you kind of know that unless they're on fire, like you kind of know what they are more or less most nights, and it helps you be a 500-ish team. Like that just is what it is. And right now we're 5-6 games under 500, so worse than that. So we're fading fast. Like you need difference makers. Like I like a bunch of these guys to some degree. I'm glad that they gave us last season, got us back on track in some right direction. I do appreciate that, but that doesn't mean you got to just lock into them for 4 years either. So they got to do something. So the next one from our guy Xavier at could be X. Yeah, could be Xavier basically. Just a text. Sorry, buddy. He's got his new. They got to free my guy. He got his last account nuked. I don't know what happened. They got to free him. All right, the new account threw me off. But yeah, I mean,
this isn't Zave?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he got nuked.
Oh man.
That's him, Shaun. Yeah. So sad dad. No, not to. Nobody cares about our Twitter drama or whatever here, but yeah, they gotta. Twitter's got to fix it. But he said, "What do y'all see as the way forward for this team? As in, who should be built around on this current roster? How can they be most optimized, ideal coach for the group?"
Johnny Bryant for the coach, and then in terms of people to build around, I think I said earlier, but RJ at the very center, and then I would keep Grimes, Mitchell Robinson, and then everybody else, more or less, as much as I love them, they're expendable, in my opinion.
Same here. RJ for sure. Mitchell Robinson. He's the anchor. I love Quentin Grimes what he does and how he fits, and how excited for how he can grow and fit next to RJ. Um, but yeah, everybody else is expendable. I love Emmanuel quickly, but I can't put him in that class of, you know. I want to see him hit shots again. I really miss watching him hit shots. It's really painful. It's really hurting me. Last night was probably his worst game ever. I don't think that was unrelated to the fact that Tibbs gave him a quick hook after 5 minutes in the Lakers game, even though he wasn't playing well. It just doesn't make any sense. How Kemba gets to not play well for 2 months, but I mean, he cannot play well for 5 minutes. But hey,
My Thibodeau fatigue is really, I knew it would be a very short time, but it's really like, is it usually this fast? I don't know, but I've reached my limit.
I mean, people
that man
say
is a criminal.
they say year two Tibbs, but usually it seems statistically like year three is the issue. So this does feel a little bit fast to keep it a buck with you. I think year two is usually when people first start to realize issues they have, and then year three is when things actually crumble. But for us, the two so happen to coincide right now.
Yeah, it's just,
So painful.
I mean, I want to take up time, but just one more time. It's just like, it's his unwillingness to change a failing plan. Like, he's a smart guy. I'm never going to say I'm smarter than him or anybody is smarter than him in terms of basketball, at least not in the NBA, like non-pros. But his unwillingness to change is laughable. It's just really laughable.
Yeah, I don't really get it, man. I just think he's like a phase one coach. Best way I could describe it.
And the lack, like, it's the unwillingness to change, like the lack of adjustment, but like the lack of creativity and like basic creativity too. Like the fact that, like, I saw a stat today, the homie Jeff put on the timeline, and it was like Obi in his minutes is like in the 92nd percentile for rim protection. Like he's not Mitchell Robinson or some pain enforcer, but neither is Nerlens Noel. Like, we're not getting elite rim protection on Nerlens Noel this year. Nobody, like, I think we're just used to him. The only thing Nerlens Noel has done well this year is hedge screens. Literally. That's the only thing he's done well on the basketball court.
And Nerlens been trying to dribble like lately. I don't know what that's about, but that needs to stop ASAP. Stop dribbling the basketball.
Immediately.
Like,
Immediately.
you can barely catch. You can't even catch. I'm not even gonna say you could barely catch. You cannot catch a basketball, and you're gonna try to put the ball on the floor. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Like, there was no way. Coming into this season, I was like, there's got to be a way, especially with the way that he was working in the offseason, the way that he improved and did everything we needed him to do in Summer League, the way that he looked coming into the year, the, like, progression he's made in this game. I was like, there's no way you don't get Obi Top in 20 minutes a game on this team. No way. And it's very easy to do so. But instead, we're doing the Nerlens Noel thing. Even though we keep losing games, well, not out of the last 11, we're still doing the same things we were doing 11 games ago.
Yeah, no, I'm still stunned to this, every day that they don't go to like the Randall Obi thing more. I just thought, even for Tibbs, I just thought it was a low bar to clear, like playing semi-modern basketball. Like, that's not even like an unusual version of small ball that we're asking for. Like if he was being like extreme with small ball, he'd be doing it in a way with like RJ Barrett's playing the four sometimes. That's exciting. That's an exciting small ball experiment, right? Like that. Now we're getting a little nuts. Like, then you could talk about some different stuff. That I would understand, right? If he wasn't prepared to do, then I'm like, all right, I get it. I would like to see it. I would try it. I'm also a madman, right? Like, it is what it is. But like, you're asking for a guy who plays power forward to play some center, which is the thing a lot of power forwards do in the NBA. Guys play both positions when they need to. So I figure out of like just pure normalcy. I thought he'd come in and play some center minutes because normally to get good bigs minutes, you just split them up a little bit. Okay, we want him mostly as the four, backing up Julius. Makes sense. That's fine. I don't really disagree there fully. But then, yeah, he should also be getting minutes at the five. And even if you don't do it, like, even if he's only playing 20 minutes and you're splitting him up 10 and 10, he plays a little couple little bursts here at center. And then the rest of his, 10 minutes is like Julius backup time. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, there is no problem. I'm surprised that like that's where he's drawing the line in terms of being like so like formal and traditional with like the positional roles. I just don't get why he's locked into like he can't play center. That to me is like just it'll irk me all year. I think it's something that you've heard from like literally everybody. It's a fan complaint. It's an analyst complaint. It's just a great number of people seem to be asking the same question and why you don't see it more. So it's stuff like that that bothers us. But I mean, to just go back to the question though, I mean, I'd want to build around RJ. I think that's the way to do it if you're going to do it and pick somebody. I think that's the only talent, younger talent that you'd be doing that sort of picking a guy and running with him thing. I think that, in any case, even if you keep Randall and RJ and that's the direction you go, whether you just go with RJ and Randall moves even in the summer, right? I feel like the plan is still sort of the same. You still need to figure out a way to spread the floor better and space the floor out and surround RJ and Randall with proper, consistent shooting and creation. And if you don't do that, you're going to have problems. I think it's very simple. So if you do it with RJ and you turn into more of a pick and roll team in terms of getting downhill to attack the paint that way, I think that's a fine pivot. But if you do that, eventually teams will try to take away the pick and roll with him and Mitch, right? So what's the counter to that? Well, you need a consistent secondary scorer to catch those kickouts, make something happen. And we know that guy consistently isn't Evan Fournier, despite the on fire month. That's impossible to sustain because he's shooting almost 50% from deep. So who would that guy be? I think that's like what the approach kind of should be in terms of what they're going to do and how they could be optimized. But you need to have like real consistent, like kind of bucket getting creation to be able to do that. And if they don't add that piece, then they're going to be in trouble. But that's how they would be most optimized. That's just to me how it would go. And an ideal coach, I don't know. I feel like different coaches are available all the time. I always start with what you have, like a Johnny Bryant. Just see if he's ready. I think that's fine. So if he's got it, but most importantly, does he have a different philosophy he'd be willing to enact? I just want to hear that kind of stuff more. Because the last time we heard it was from Fizdale, who was a snake oil salesman, who told us we were going to play fast and shoot threes, and and then nothing happened. So, just come in and just do it. You know what the team needs. You kind of can see it, and just in terms of like how they'd be optimized. Like that Lakers game was a great example. I thought they played a hell of a game for the most part. I thought, not to, this is a trade pod, not to recap, too much about recent events, but, I felt almost the exact same way as like the Grizzlies loss. Like I thought it was a real good loss. I hate even saying that on this pod. To me, it's such a loser thing to say out loud. It's something I always just keep to myself. I thought it was a real good loss, man. I thought they played really well. RJ and Randall, obviously, but how they played too. I thought it was really just Malik Monk going nuts in the third, and we scored 13 points in the third. I just thought it was like the worst possible time to go cold, but also he was on fire, and that was kind of the difference maker in the end, really, because RJ even got them back in it with that last three, hit a big shot. I mean, he had a great night. He had a great night, but they played fast. They played fast is my point. They had their most success when they're playing fast, Randall and RJ. So in terms of optimization, whether it was just RJ alone, he definitely benefits from that play style. But even Randall, like if they encourage this team to play faster, if you gave them maybe better pieces, faster pieces to play with alongside them, I feel like you'd be okay. That's I just feel like Kemba hasn't been able to set them up and get them into their offense or really play that fast. It comes and goes with him. And then Fournier, obviously, we know isn't really a pace type of player. So, I mean, it kind of puts you in a pickle. And then Mitch is usually trying to rebound with Julius, right? So those guys are at the rim. They're not running. So who's running? Do you trust Kemba on the break? passing up layups to throw it behind him. Like, it's like these are kind of the issues that we've been having. So I just think space and shooting is what you got to optimize no matter what going forward. Like real shooting and scoring, and then you figure out the coaching shit later. But let me just try to read a couple more here. As far as trading for expiring contracts, what players are you guys okay with acquiring for opening up cap space for the summer? And then he mentions, Joe Ingles, Goran Dragic, etc. I think Dragic is like 19 million expiring. Ingles, I know just tore his ACL. I don't even know if I understand his question. I'm thinking out loud now. I don't even know if you could trade somebody who just tore their ACL. It seems like not a thing you could do. Maybe in the offseason you can. I don't know. But that's from at Bankhead718.
At the point of frustration with Kemba, Burks, and Noel that I would trade them for a pack of backwoods. So bring on any expiring.
A pack of backwoods is hilarious. Yeah, I would literally trade them for whatever. Like, they can go. Get them off the team. Don't care what comes back. I believe you can trade for Joe Ingles. It's the thing it should be. I mean, the Cavs just traded Ricky Rubio. So,
Good point.
I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, like, if they want to do that, that's fine. Whoever they want, 20 bricks, whoever you want, take them. Like, anybody who wants to take anybody, like, take them. Take any of those 4 guys are available easily. You don't even have to return anything. Like, send back like in the sneaker exchanges, people would send like an empty box of shoes. Like, go ahead, bro. That's fine. I don't care.
Let's bring the printer trades back.
Look, we got what? So 3 p.m. Thursday, right?
Yep.
3 p.m. Thursday. It's now 9 o'clock on Tuesday. So this Nuggets game is about to start. We'll probably cut it here soon anyway. And then, hopefully watch us not get obliterated by a 60-40-20 game from Nikola Jokic. There's no Mitch, there's no Noel. So, yeah.
Pain.
Sims coming out party. Sims coming out party.
He does play well when we need him to. I will say, like, he's played sparingly this season, but I forgot which game it was, but we needed him, and he actually showed out. I forgot which game it was, though.
I remember us talking about that. Yeah, this will be the performance that, like, solidifies it. Where it's like, okay, he is now the backup big, finally.
Yeah. So, look, we'll see. Hopefully we get what we want tonight, but normally we do not get what we want. So we'll look forward to this. We will let you guys now enjoy the rest of this podcast. Now, before we even get into the Charles Oakley segment of this podcast, I would just like, before everybody's rolling their eyes, I can feel it collectively right now, okay? I would implore you to relax. Honestly, it was much better than I thought it was going to go. I thought, it was a real friendly sit down. He actually had a lot of very spot on stuff with the current Knicks. Me and Shaun felt, they nailed some stuff about Tibbs. He's if you give it an honest listen, you think he'd be okay. There is nothing. You're not gonna like 5 minutes from now turn it on and then you're gonna start hearing like nasty, malicious Knicks stuff. So just you guys will be okay. It's just a lot of Twitter reactions. Over this listening to this guy I've seen over the years. Just hear him out. It wasn't that bad. It was a good talk. I enjoyed it.
People just hate listening to the truth because, all right, 3 things if you really are adamant about not giving Oak the time of day. 1, that means you are choosing to side with James Dolan because that is the only true beef Oakley has. 2, his stuff on Patrick Ewing isn't like awful. It's actually spot on if you put in the context. 3, you are siding with James Dolan. What are you doing in your life?
And I'm not gonna lie, going, and I feel like, take it from me, it's definitely worth the listen. You feel me? Hear him out. He's not like, I was upset as a fan, but I think my biggest beef was him and taking the pictures in the net stuff. I think that was like weird to me, but that was part of his beef with James. Whatever
that's
it is.
Valid. That's valid.
Yeah, it is what it is. As far as the thing with Patrick, I didn't like the way it seemed like he was speaking on Patrick, but when we spoke to him, he was just like, hey, man, like, he just gave his objective opinion about, and the thing I also respect is that he's literally just answering questions. It's not his fault he says what he thinks. But I can always respect that. You say what you think, he's consistent with it. Like, this is my perspective. He wasn't trying to be messy or anything like that. So shout out to Charles Oakley. Check it out. At the end of the day, that's a 90s Knicks legend. And it was an honor to be able to be on the pod with him. So you guys check that out. You'll enjoy it, and you may catch yourself and it feels good to let things go sometimes. Like after I was like, oh wow, you know what? That feels good. Like to not have to have any negative kind of thought in with the name. That's good. It was nice. So do
Knicks
that for
royalty.
yourself.
Knicks royalty.
I think sometimes we get stuck in look, I know we're always in auto defense mode with this team. I understand it. I understand how you guys get there, but not everything's like a lifelong personal vengeance that we got to have with people is my only thing. But again, I understand, certain comments people are going to have certain reactions to. That's sports. That is what it is. But on this particular sit down, I didn't feel anything, so I think you guys would actually enjoy it. So again, give it a listen. I think, we talk about the book for sure, but also we talk about current stuff with the Knicks that I think you guys will find interesting. So we'll let you guys enjoy that now. We hope you enjoyed this trade deadline special edition. Try to bring you something real quick ahead of the deadline, just because there were a flurry of moves today, and I felt like we had to at least talk about a couple of our possibilities being eliminated here. So just wanted to catch even down to the Harrison Barnes thing. I feel like we really top to bottom. You guys had everything in this one. So hopefully this answers your questions for the next 36 hours. And, Thursday we'll come live to you guys. We will, chop it up on Spaces, I assume, but we will also have a podcast recorded coming out that day. And hopefully they make a move, man. I don't know what else we can keep saying, but for the 800th time this year, hopefully they do something. We hope they do something.
In an ideal world, by the time you guys hear this pod, it's outdated. I'm sorry, but I would love to wake up tomorrow and there's news. And it's like, well, it's not on the pod, unfortunately, but I woke up to news. That's how bad I need the news. So
yeah, I'll take it one further. I would almost like to have to do this twice. I would love to have to scrap this whole pod because something happened that immediately made it sound hilarious and not just outdated, but we couldn't even use it. That would be the best case scenario where I got to trash the whole thing. I got to wake you guys up at the crack of dawn and we got to go again. That would be the best case scenario. So I would like for that to happen because this angsty wishing of trades to happen that I know won't is the last thing that I feel like doing at any pod, but it is what it is. So again, we'll get out of here. Hopefully there's a move. Hopefully we get a win tonight. Enjoy the Charles Oakley interview. And we will talk to you guys next time, hopefully after a series of moves. Let's go Knicks. Take it easy.
Adios.
And joining us now on the Knicks Wall podcast is a very special guest. It's a Knicks legend. It's a guy who just has a new book that came out, The Last Enforcer. And that person is Charles Oakley. So Charles, welcome to the program. Here's the book, which my blurred background is now blurring out, that's okay. Unfortunate. I'll fix that. But how's everything going, Charles? How you doing?
Everything's good. We just want to get into this book. A lot of good stories, a lot of things about my life, career, dealing with people. So this book got a lot of information in it. A lot of stuff people that know about me, they'll find out about me.
Yeah. So as I was going through it, look, we know you're an outspoken person, and of course that makes you who you are as a fellow outspoken man. I respect it, of course, saying things that, just got to be said versus, things that maybe people want to hear. But I thought it made for, a good read, an insightful read, because it's stuff that you're not always going to get from the same. This is the same book experience. A lot of people want to tell the same stories over and over again in the same kind of way to appeal to people. But I enjoyed the refreshing aspect of it that you dropped in. But I just wanted to start off by asking you, the book's called The Last Enforcer. I thought that was a very apt title. What is, very bare bones, but let's start with that word in and of itself. What does being an enforcer mean to you, I guess, when you were a player anyway? And do you think kind of happened to that role in today's NBA, the modern game has kind of maybe got away from that position a little?
Well, in this book, we talk about, in my book, we talk about the 90s and 80s, how basketball was played, and, everybody had to play their part. And I didn't think I was an enforced guy. It was like I always had my teammate back on the floor, playing my role to the fullest, power forward, you got to play with force. It was just, a name that when you do some consistency and people look at you and say, wow. And with a name like that, it fit the mold.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's obviously, growing up as a younger Knicks fan at that time, that was obviously what was drilled into us about what you brought to the table in that position, and how you were able to help, whichever teams you were on. We know you were at the Bulls prior, and
Right.
played sort of a similar role there. But I did kind of just want to hop right in, at least on that Bulls Knicks note, because I think that's probably one of the more fascinating parts of your career, in my opinion, anyway, is that you went
Right.
right from the Bulls right to the Knicks, and that ended up being like the big Eastern Conference rivalry that everybody remembers from that era. So, I mean, just for starters, what was it like? I guess the cultural aspect of playing for the Bulls first, and then going over to the Knicks at that time.
In the book, we talk a lot about the Knicks and the Bulls series, the '90s, but the culture was basic. Chicago, Midwest, and grinding. The Bears had just won a Super Bowl, and the Bulls was on the rise. But when I got to New York, it was a team that was trying to find their identity. And I think I played there for 10 years, made the playoff every year, went to the finals once. But more of all, is how much the crowd was involved, showing you love at the games, cheering you on. New York it's just, they name it twice, but it's a special place. And I just wish we would have won a championship in my era in New York, but we didn't. But the fans still show you love, as long as you go out and compete. You cannot fool the fans in New York about all this cute playing basketball. They want to see you give an effort every night.
I think you're preaching to the choir about that part, because that has been one of the big themes this season. Not to stray too far off the book, but obviously whether it's been with Julius Randle or some of the other Knicks, I hear that word effort every single night, and it's the only thing Knicks fans want to see. They don't care if you lose by 20, as long as you're busting your ass out there every single night. And if they see you slacking, especially possession to possession,
Yeah.
that makes them more angry. I mean, you can go 0 for 20 and they don't care, as long as you're busting your ass.
Yes. So basically, in this book, a lot of that in this book, I think it's just a different ball game. These guys they don't take it like we took it. Something is missing because there's too many teams doing the same thing, not winning, no chemistry, bad body, not effort. So it's a lot of that in the league in this day and age, because I don't think the talent is good as now it was back in the 80s and 90s. I noticed ain't no pressure on them for us like demanding, because they're real sensitive. So when you start talking about them, they put their head between their legs. They call the agent. I mean, you got to man up. You get a contract. I mean, you want all the money, but you got to produce. And this city, they're not gonna let you go in and think you just sugarcoat it and just go home every day. No, they want to see getting loose ball, taking a charge. They don't do that these days.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely true to a degree that this game in today's day and age, it feels a lot more finesse. A lot more with. I think part of that was obviously the rule changes. Over time, that they made it so you couldn't even breathe on these players. But like this year, they've been trying to make more of an effort to let guys play a little bit more. But even then, we're still dealing with what kind of happened the last decade with the all out. Spread the floor, just drive and kick everything. Pull up for a three on everything. But we'll see, because again, not to get too far off. That's why I kind of like watching the Suns right now, because the Suns go inside outside on you with Ayton inside. Booker and Chris Paul, they don't just sit behind the 3-point line. They know how to actually get in, press into you, beat you up and beat you, 10 different ways in the half court.
Right. Well, you got to give them a lot of credit. I think that Monty Williams is a throwback coach. Yeah. And I think that in this book, you see that, they want young, sexy coaches on the sideline. But my thing with basketball is what you're saying about the old days. What Phoenix doing, you got Cleveland playing the same way. You got a good point guard in Garlic. They go in and out. They playing old school basketball. You got Memphis doing the same thing. They got a good point guard. So basically, all these teams we talking about, they have a good point guard. If you ain't got a good point guard, you're not going nowhere, because the point guard is making plays like Garlic. He's a new young guy, Cleveland guy. They had Sexton, he got hurt. And you see how John Morant playing. He put that team on his back. I mean, he taking the lead by stone right now. Even though Zion Williams got drafted before him, Zion Williams at home right now, 30, 40 pounds overweight. He in the NBA is balling. So he's the upcoming star, because we need an upcoming star, because LeBron don't have maybe 2 years, 3 years left. KD But we need them veteran stars. We need young stars. Booker, I don't know why they keep jibbing him about All-Star. He should be a star in an All-Star team, but he's on his grind. He don't make it. He's still playing hard. Last year they going to the final. They're my favorite to win it right now because they add a couple pieces and money go. Like I said, what happened last year. The thing is, when you lose a champ, when you go to the finals and lose, the next year is get back there. And when you can do that, you got a chance to win it. And I think they got a good chance of winning this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that they're one of the favorites, especially West has kind of been up in the air this year. A couple newcomers, whatever. Lakers not playing as well as they should. So, I mean, they're in a prime position. But just to take it a step back, because I know we mentioned the all-out attack, offensive attacks of this day and age. But when you first got to the Knicks, actually, Rick Pitino, you joined the bomb squad, and they were actually launching a lot of threes at that time. So, what was that like coming into an offensive system like that?
But see, a lot of people don't know that. We've always been bumping and grind. But yeah, Rick Pitino, he had offense, spread the floor, press defense. He was trying to insert that into the game before, 15 years later, here come Golden State doing the same thing. Up-tempo, shooting three. But, Rick was a feisty coach. He demanded a lot, even though we were shooting threes, this and that. You had to be in great shape. You had to know the game plan. Rick left on his own, but the style he had, it could have worked out because you had to have the right players. He had the right players because Trent Tucker was a 3-point shooter, Johnny Newman, Joe. So they called him the bomb squad. So yeah, he did a good job. But like I said, he went on out and went back to college, and then a few other coaches. Then Pat Riley came in and took us to the finals. I'll never forget that. We didn't win, but it was something that we could, look back on. The fans cheered for us. We made it, though. But I know you want to win when you get there. So it was just one of them things, but at least we got there.
Yeah, I thought, I just thought it ended up being interesting because, growing up, I was too young for the bomb squad to remember in full memory, right? But I grew up for the latter, the rock fight Knicks that you were part of, right? And I thought, once I learned about that stuff, watched that stuff in hindsight, I thought it was fascinating. You guys went from like an all-out, spaced-out, sprawling kind of shooting attack, and then Pat Riley comes in and you kind of invert it. You go opposite, and it turns into you got to grind with us. You got to, you're gonna die if you come into the paint type of thing. And having lived through that part of that Knicks era, I mean, was it as jarring as it seemed to go totally 180 in terms of your philosophy and kind of the team approach?
Well, I know in football, you said we get a lot of defensive coordinators be head coaches, offensive coordinators should be head coach. But when you're an athlete, and I think in basketball, you're going both ways, offense and defense. You got sometimes Pat Riley seen the vision. We had the type of players was physical, physicality body. Basically, we had to get ourselves in better shape to do that up and down. But he brought something to it we never, like I said, he took us to the finals. He brought attitude of different ways of playing basketball. He kept us, he kept us grinding. It was like he helped us accountable because everybody had to play a different role. When you play in different roles, sometimes if you try to get out of that role to do something else, it don't work. But he just had the right mindset of a coach that he knew that he could move us, and his style was, it was crafty, and he was just like he was demanding certain things. When you demand and get it, that means you're doing your job. And he did that. He got everybody to buy into something different than what we was doing. Stop taking all them threes, go to half court, post Patrick, 2-man game, tough defense, a lot of, side pick and roll. But, he taught me, he had more to my game for his knowledge, but because, like I said, he won championship with Magic, Kareem, Byron Scott, James Worthy. So you had to give him a chance to put his system in and see if they work or not.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, I know when in the book you mentioned when you were leaving Chicago, one of the issues I guess you had with Doug Collins was you wanted some more plays run for you. Maybe not in a way to be like featured, right, like as the main guy, but you mentioned Michael Jordan. They were always paying so much attention to him. And one big point analysts and media made was there wasn't a lot of scoring outside of Michael. So you thought having some plays run for the rest of the team just to kind of bring some of that pressure off of him would help. I guess when you got to New York, and I know you again played for two different coaches and styles, but did you feel more of that freedom in terms of the play calls and getting to do a little bit more?
Well, I wasn't just saying run plays for me. I was just playing, know your team, know what guys can do when they come in. Man, I was playing, I was getting 15, 16 reach round. Plays wasn't really a big thing, but I'm saying is, a dog need a bone every now and then. You know what I'm saying? So the other guys who could score, I was more trying to speak up for them because I was that guy. And but Doug was one of them coaches, back and forth, this and that, more of controlling. He traded me because I might have, I spoke up for my teammates at all time. I don't like when coaches try to misuse guys, embarrass guys. I mean, I just don't go for that. And no matter who it was, I'll speak up for him, a rookie, a veteran. But it was just one of them things. I mean, I didn't lose no sleep. I got traded. I thought I came to a better place, New York. I mean, so hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, certainly. Like I know you said stuff about whatever with Patrick Ewing in the past, but I just want to speak more specifically about again one team to another. What was like the differences in terms of the leadership style anyway between the top players of both teams playing with Michael run team and a Patrick run team?
It was just night and day. In this book, I talk a little about it. I mean, to be a leader, I think that Kobe, Mike, LeBron. I mean, adversity. Every leader go through adversity. They're gonna go through something to press or something happen, and the toughest come out of leaders. And I think that playing with Patrick, I didn't never see that. That they're giving, doing stuff for the team, making everybody feel like they're important to you. But we always had to be important to him. Give him the ball, bring the ball up, make sure he get his shot, make sure this, make sure that. And, it was a big difference. It's no comparison. I can't even put them in the same sentence, but both of them played in the NBA. That's about it because it was just different. If Patrick had the heart as Michael Jordan had, we'd have a championship.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot with that Patrick Ewing relationship, whether it's with
no, it ain't. It's just the truth. Ain't a lot. It just is what it is. I mean, hey, I don't run from when I said something. I mean, I'm a grown man. If I see him, I'm still gonna. I ain't gonna jump. I mean, cut off the street because I see him. I'm gonna keep walking straight.
Okay. Yeah. So no, just want to change gears a little bit too. I know in the book you mentioned about maybe different ways you could have worked in basketball after your playing days, and you mentioned a couple of those jobs maybe that you would have been interested in. But is that something that's still kind of on your mind? Is that do you still want to work in basketball? Maybe in a professional.
No, I know it's just totally different. Well, I saw it for myself. I'm glad I had a chance to coach, and it's just a different space now. You can't. It's hard to deal with the guys because guys got the upper hand. I mean, they don't want you to say nothing to them, and they don't want you to get them off. Like first, like say something they might get sensitive about. And I think that these teams who think like that never gonna win nothing because it's all about the money. And as long as the players don't get in no trouble, like that, they happy because you can just look around the league and tell these teams don't have a chance the next 10 years. I don't care if they do get a superstar. It's just the franchises ain't run right. It all start upstairs. You can have billions of dollars. You want to win a championship, it just can't happen. Because you got to have some respect. You got to have a good leader. And if you ain't got a leader these days, I know everybody might have some little talent, but you still need a leader to get the core guys together and make sure that they always together and then make things easy for other guys. When your leader ain't leading, you're going to look bad on the court.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of speaks to a question I had about that's how you feel about the difference in the game personally, just in how it's evolved and how the players have more of an upper hand. It's tougher to deal with them in that space. But as far as on the floor, I know a lot of players from your era and prior eras, where it was more of a grinded out game, no layup rule, things like that. And now that the game is, up tempo, they're scoring way more points. And just as a viewer, as a basketball lover, like, how do you feel toward that? Do you, like, it's good for the game? Do you miss the way it was prior?
Well, the game now is about the dollars, global. I think when I played in basketball back in the 80s and 90s, we might have 2% of global players. So now you got 30%. A third of the league is global. So it's a transition to make money. Not saying the transition to just take some out of the game. Taking the physicality out of the game, making money. And yeah, Golden State, some teams going benefit from it, but 70% of the team won't because they don't have the right kind of chemistry and players to play the type of game, a spread court offense. It's a copycat league. Everybody want to get a Mahomes. Burrow. They draft these guys and hoping they can be like Mahomes, but Burrow in Cincinnati, he went from Wild State to LSU. So he left a great school to go to another school to win a championship to prove himself and get he get the Heisman Trophy. Now he in the championship game. That's the type of guy who's been carrying people on his back. He proved that he can do it. And then the type of guy, got a chance to win the Super Bowl this week. But it's the NBA, like I said, it didn't change a lot. It's all about the money, though.
Yeah, look, I mean, guys are getting bigger deals. There's more guys coming over here now. But I did want to talk a little bit about current Knicks with you too. Just because they're centered around a big power forward right now with Julius Randle. I know everybody they're a little bit underperforming based on expectations fans had set after a more successful season last year. But I mean, what do you think about the current state of this team? The way Tom Thibodeau's been doing since he got here, like just your general thoughts on the current state of the team.
Well, I mean, I know they always say, "Well, you throw the playoffs on the bus, throw Knicks on the." No, I mean, I think I got a good IQ for the game, and I said last year, be careful with fool's gold. I mean, because they got to win the streak. They won 11 games over 500, but you got to look at the rosters. Did your roster show you win? Yeah, you got. Sometimes you can overachieve. I think they overachieved last year, but it showed in the playoff against Atlanta last year. You was number 4 seed, they number 5 seed. They beat you in 5 games. So if your talent for the match at 41 win, you should have won at least 2 or 3 of them games. But back to, I think that some guys can't play in New York. It's just some of them things. I mean, they think you playing by scoring going to take from fans for booing you or saying this and that. All the fans want you to play with hard effort every night. It ain't about scoring. Because if you get the most points in another team, 9 times out of 10, you win. Okay, long you score 10 points or 30 points. I would score 20 points, or maybe 10 points and win, score 30 and lose. So when they start thinking like that, they can be a better team. Not just I'm gonna get my 30. But now you get these younger guys, they playing for contracts. It ain't a question that you can look at the game and say they playing with together. They playing for contracts all over the league. And these young guys want to get a second contract. They getting drafted. They might not be good as a draft pick, but they want a second. So when they in the game, that will hurt team. Selfish trying to get numbers. They're not no chemistry. I mean, I don't think. And for Thibodeau, for his coaching, I just question his rotation. You never see no consistent guys on the floor. So how can you get better?
I mean, you're preaching to the choir on that one. The rotation. I actually want to ask you about the rotation specifically because you mentioned it. He always does these. It's a hockey rotation. It's always 5 in, 5 out. He'll play guys whole quarters. I mean, I don't know that I've seen many coaches do that.
And I mean, he go by who's hot. And I mean, in this day and age, they're gonna get you in trouble because you're gonna lose your players, and then they're gonna start whining, and then the next thing you know, they go whine the management, and next thing you know, that door's open. Next thing you know, you out of there. And in New York, like I say, this year, I mean, the fans it's been good. I know Jules Randolph gave them the thumb down. That was embarrassing. But I mean, you ain't in the play-in right now, and you was a 4th seed, and you supposed to be on the way up. I mean, you got to card in reverse again. That ain't New York fans ain't gonna go. They're not gonna settle for so long with this. Somebody gonna have to pay the repercussions for this. Trade, coach, somebody. I know it's just been his 2nd year coach, but it's hard to coach young guys these days. That's what I mean. It's tough. I feel sorry for coach because I know he's a good coach, but it's just the players they don't buy in like players used to no more. Everybody got somebody in their ear. He's aging, get your numbers. You get 10 and 10, you get 25 million. So that separate teams that are trying to win.
And I know you just mentioned about, things go left and, sometimes you got to shake things up, but they have been rumored the last couple of weeks to be wanting to do some kind of a big shakeup. I don't know how much you care or pay attention, but is there a particular player or particular move that you would have liked to have seen them make?
What you going to trade? Your best player ain't playing his best. Your next guy's RJ. You spent money on two guys. That means you're supposed to get better. So you just signing people just to sign, that don't work in this day and age. You got to know who can fit the style you want on the court. You got all kind of shooters. Only defensive guys probably your two centers, Mitchell Robinson, Noah. So I don't see no one else fill defensive strategy, and you're a defensive coach, and they don't practice like they used to. They can't. It's hard to learn now because you can't do it so much in practice. They limit practice, so you got to either have a guy already got a high IQ, or you're gonna be in trouble. And you see what Chicago doing. They went and got some veterans, and Ball was a high IQ. DeRozan was a team player. Zach still. So go to Cleveland. They went and got in the draft Mobile, and then they had Allen that Georgia should have never got rid of. Then Ngali came into his own when Sexton got hurt. The coach doing a great job. Give him a shout out. He's doing a great job with that team. Even though guys been in and out, now they just signed LeVert. Cleveland gonna be tough. They're gonna be a tough out in the playoff because they got them big. They're going old school ball.
Yeah, I thought it was curious when they drafted Mobley. I really liked Mobley, but I thought it was curious after
the best player in the draft.
He looks the part. I can't believe how good on defense he is already, to be honest with you, at that age. It's pretty, a lot of times rookies come in, even if they're good at defense, there's a different level. It's like rookies being good at defense and then being NBA good at defense. But Mobley he's already NBA good, immediately. Day one, he was coming in blocking everything. And just his IQ, the way he rotates around is really impressive. So they did a hell of a job there in Cleveland. I do agree with you, though, about picking your spots in terms of when you've got to go after certain young players and the high upsides with their brains, their IQs, because me and Shaun here, we wanted Lonzo Ball so bad for these New York Knicks.
I don't know why they didn't go after him. I know Kimbo was good in his days, this and that, and already know he had a bad. I don't get it. My thing is, if you wanted to go to the next level, I don't know, Leon Rose, whoever running it, you got to spend. You got to overpay. I know somebody else might have wanted this and that. You got to overpay. This guy is IQ out the window. Get the ball up, get the ball to the right guys. You can't have Julius Randle dribbling the ball up every night like he's a point guard. You're killing your team.
Yep, it's something that I feel like Tom Thibodeau takes things that should be luxuries, that should be accent pieces to your offense, and then turns them into the whole course. Like the point guard Burks thing that he was doing for a couple of weeks when Kemba wasn't playing or hurt with his knee. Instead of trying to any of the guards that they drafted this year or last year, instead of giving them a little bit more rope, he just went to we'll just play shooting guard Alec Burks at point guard and we'll see what happens. We'll just keep having Julius bring the ball up. And as much as I love Julius and he's a talented player, you can't have him do everything on the offensive side of the ball. It's not how basketball works, especially from a playmaking power forward.
I think that you see like Luka in Dallas, James Harden in Brooklyn. I think guys now, they taking that for granted too much on these teams. The bigger guys bring the ball up. I hate that. LeBron's one of the best IQ guys in the game. He's the exception. But these other guys, it's hurting the team because I was coaching Charlotte, Hornets, Bobcats, what name? So we just charter the guys, not a non-point guard, bring the ball up. Back then, we was charting Atlanta. I think it was J.R. Smith. And 60%, 70% of the time, he bring the ball up is a turnover. So get the ball to the point guard. But that's why they don't run offense now. So I guess they say anybody can be a point forward. If you ran a traditional offense, your point guard had to be the lead guy or your two guard, not the 4 or 5 bringing it up. And I watched the other day, the Knicks, Anthony Davis, he's going to bring it up. These guys just got so comfortable with just bringing the ball up. The guard don't even ask for it no more. when I was coaching, I just tell them, get the ball to the point guard. I don't care who it was. Get the ball to the point guard. And the guys on the court feel like a point guard with IQ sometimes can get you an easy bucket. Most guys who dribble up, bigger guys are going to turn it over. They're just big guys, not good passers. Unless you're LeBron James, Magic Johnson.
Yeah, it takes a special kind of outlier big to be that effective with the ball in their hands to that degree. And there's not many of them for a good reason. There's not many of them. It's a hard thing to do at that size, at that position of the NBA.
So I got a question for you. Can I ask you a question? So you think the Knicks will make a trade? Or they just putting smoke in the air to people act like they're trying?
What do you think, Shaun?
I think they better. They better make a trade, or I'm gonna get like there's too many people playing who aren't impacting the game. So like Kemba Walker has to go, Alec Burks has to go to make some room for Quentin Grimes and Cam Reddish. Nerlens Noel has to go. He's not playing well. He's not somebody you can even like. He's not even a drive and dump off option. Like there's no dunker spot for him. He drops every pass that's thrown to him no matter what.
Yeah, he got no hands.
There's guys, you got to get Obi on the floor. You got to get Jericho Sims on the floor.
Okay, another good question. Why they won't play Obi and Randall together? For some reason, they should.
Mr. Oakley, thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
They should play them together. This kid's athletic. He can do this and that. I mean, just if you're gonna lose trying to do something different. So that old stuff ain't working. Do something different. So preach on.
Tibbs and the Knicks only seem to view Obi as like only can play the four. That's it, and it can only be when Randall's off the floor. But this is the modern NBA. We see
Tibbs like playing veteran. He gonna play veteran, so he's a veteran coach guy, and I mean he adjusts to playing young. I mean being around young guys, but he haven't just playing young guys with veteran. He can play, so. I don't know. I mean, I guess he can't do so much. This is his second year. Like I said, last year was the fool's gold year. Now this is the reality year. We okay team. We're not a 10-win better team like last year. We're a 500 round up team. And that's how they playing. Were they 5 games under 500? So
yeah.
And they on the West Coast and to play 3 out of 4 is gonna be really tough. So. I mean, we hope they get to the play-in. That's what they hope because Atlanta's getting hot at the right time like they did last year. Something about them, they got talent, but they got a guy who is a problem every night, Trae Young. He's that's the guy you pay max money to, a guy that team have to really prepare for. Not a guy just bring the ball down and turn it over and shoot threes.
No, I mean, so they better make a trade. First of all, I don't know even if it's minor to clear up some consolidation.
I don't see them making no trade. They have nothing to give up.
They don't, but they better be dumping at least because you made a mistake with some of these front office decisions. Whether it was the Noel I like, right? In a vacuum, I think he's a fine player, but you gave him 3 years for no reason. You gave Burks a multi-year deal. You gave Fournier 4 years with the team option, and he up until this last month wasn't doing his job. You know what I mean? Like you gotta consolidate some of this stuff and try to go in somewhere else because it looks like today's rumor, Charles, for example, the latest rumor, Jalen Brunson at first was from the Mavericks, a mention of De'Aaron Fox from the Kings, right? But today's rumor, C.J. McCollum from the Blazers. The Knicks have been one of the lead alleged from Mark Stein. Allegedly, the Knicks have been in there trying to get after him. I mean, what do you think about a C.J. McCollum move?
You already got a 2 guard. I mean, basically the same type of player. I spread the floor, not really a distributor at the 2, a catch and shoot guy. I mean, $25 million. The same probably match the contract, but they should have got the ball, kid. This would be a whole different conversation because you could have did other things. Because he can play 1 and 2, and you got other guys, but they got too many guys to do the same thing. They just want to shoot. No kind of ball. Kimbo, he ain't got that leg. He pulling that leg, so you can't play 12 minutes, 1 game, 20 minutes. You gotta be at the consistent. I know ain't nobody gonna make the first 7 shot, but still, you gotta be in a flow. That's why I don't see a flow or a good chemistry at the same time. You can't try to play 12 guys, all of them 21, 22 minutes. And you gotta get some guys, hey, this core gonna play 35 minutes a night. Y'all guys on the bench gonna play 12 to 14. If you get going, you might play more, but majority, 80% of the time, these are 5 guys going to play. 2 or 3 guys on the bench, going to come in and play y'all 12, 15 minutes and try that. You got to change up whatever's going on because it's not working. You stop playing 10, 11 guys. Get your 7, 8 guys. Tighten up the rotation. I hate to do it for the playoff, but tighten it up now so you can make the playoff.
Yeah, something's got to change, man, in the worst way. We feel like we watched the same loss 30 times this season. They played the same way.
There's no way they should have lost to the Lakers the other night.
Nope.
There's no way. Up 17. I mean, if you need to drive to the basket time and get 1 free throw, you should have still won that game. 1 point is better than nothing. So
it was that third quarter once again, man. Always the damn third quarters, but yeah.
The third quarter been a hunt over my career too. But I mean, if we lose the third quarter, but you got to win the 4. You can't lose both. You know what I'm saying? You can play bad in 1 quarter, but something always been with the Knicks franchise. Come out that locker room in the third quarter always been a weakness for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, they got to get it together. It's getting late fast. So it's February 7th as we record this. February 10th for the trade deadline cannot possibly come soon enough. We pray that they do something.
I don't think they're gonna be. They can't move nobody. They don't have nothing to move. I mean, I think I'm going somebody for the same thing they give up and say they did it. But the thing is, that's the problem. The guy they bring in gonna have to be a guy that can make a difference. I know last year Chicago made that big trade with the guys from the big center from Orlando or somebody else. They could never get chemistry, and that's why they went down. Some trade, because you bring another guy who need the ball, you already got 3 guys need the ball. That ain't gonna work. He gonna want his shot. So whoever you trade for gonna come in. They gotta be an offensive-minded guy.
That's what me and Shaun been saying for a minute. The last couple of years, they've been doing these little margin moves to get somebody 10 cents on the dollar to try to make an impact. But at some point, you just got to go take, like you said about Lonzo, you got to take the big swing, pay up, just go get the guy. Go get the guy, whatever it costs, a real, true difference maker, somebody that's going to move the needle in a big way, guaranteed. Like you can't just keep hoping these little margin moves pan out.
So they're going to play RJ next year, right?
I would imagine they're going to break the Charlie Ward curse. They're finally going to pay this kid for the first time since 90. Which year was it, Shaun? I don't know, but it's been since Charlie Ward they haven't paid somebody off the rookie extension.
92, 90, no, 90, no, 94, 95, no, 95.
Been a while.
I wanted to say 95, but I was also one. So
I think it's 95. Yeah.
They're about to. The point is either way, we're well overdue for a rookie to get paid off his rookie deal. So, I mean, I like RJ. I think he looks like a smart player. I think he brings all-around facets to the game. I think he defends well, both on ball and team defense. I think he's still learning, obviously. He's not perfect by any means or a superstar, but he's, sort of actually hitting that trajectory a bit now.
This is third year, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to look the part a little bit more anyway. He's got to put it together consistently.
He having a good start. January, February. He playing well since January, yeah. And he's probably averaging like 23, 24 this month.
Mm-hmm.
And, but like I said, on that team, everybody, I don't know, Derrick Rose come back and help him or what, but he's still a ball dominant when he's in the game. I mean, they don't have no shutdown guys since I'm going to play defense. I'm going to be the guy to take 3 or 4 charges of the game. When they start getting that mindset in, find somebody who can, bring us, if you do make a trade for somebody who can score, but bring somebody who can play a defense catalyst to the team and make sure they can do that every night. You can't have a guy one night play defense, next 4 games, want to be a scorer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Because anything I say, they say I'm talking bad about them. So damn I do, damn I don't. You be bad, you bad. I mean, what else want to say? You 5 games under 500. I mean, if they say if you want to jump and chocolate cake, maybe you buy the icing when you buy the cake. Sure.
Yeah, no, look, you gotta be able to talk about these things as they're happening, You gotta talk about these things when they're not playing well, because that way, you can't always talk about everything like it's good all the time. Like even when they're used to win. That's the thing is. That's why we tell them you cannot fool New York fans. I mean, they get a lot of guys. You can't. A lot of guys they work for them and this and that. Oh, we're gonna win 50 games. I'm like, okay, I know why you saying this. But
that's what they do now. They lie to I would never lie to the fans. I mean, I ain't about the dollar. Just that I'm always if I understand the game and know the truth, or somebody been following me like I have a good IQ, I'm gonna give you my IQ about everything, not just one thing. You know, that's how I roll. So maybe I shouldn't talk about it. You know, because like I say, everybody can see it, but they don't want you to say it. You know, they said first thing they said, somebody rob a bank or somebody get shit shot. You see something, says something, right? So if something wrong, I'm gonna say it.
It's funny because Kemba had back-to-back 0-point games. And I was like, yo, like we can't keep playing Kemba. And then people were like, oh, so now it's Kemba's fault? You guys are always looking for someone to blame. I'm like, bro, he hasn't scored in 2 games. Like, it's bad. Like, he's playing bad. You can't
play no starter in and out like that. Then you sit one game because you don't play this. Kemba is a guy, he need a ball. They should run more pick and roll with Kemba. Guys got to dive, set a spot up. When you dive, you take somebody with you. When you spot up, they bring more defenders to the ball. So whenever they be relying there, they be better off. Dive is the guy who's setting the pick and roll. Pin down on the weak side so they can't play a two-man zone top. But the offense just all out around the circle.
On behalf of the entire fan base, you feel me? Because you have more of a possibility of doing so than I do. If you could just relay these messages to Tom Thibodeau, and let him know. Because they seem like very obvious things. Like, we're all on the same page. We all agree. But for some reason, the season just keeps going on and we don't see anything change or any adjustments, and it's just frustrating.
Well, some going to change because I know the fans, they've been holding their breath. I mean, I know Julius Randle did that thumb down. They let him have it, but they've been good to these players. And all they want to say, hey, put a little more effort into what you're doing. Sooner or later, something got to change. My thing, when you go out there and play effort, the fans see it, and you ain't winning, then next year you got to make like I said, trade deadline, I don't think nothing's going to happen, but next year you're going to make a lot of adjustments. I mean, you're going to have to bring some players in, get rid of some players because you got to get a core of guys who can play together. Julius Randle would help his own teammate up the other night. Then they'll help another guy on another team. Like, man. That's just crazy. All this helping guys up. I mean, just get up. I mean, you don't have to wait 3 of your teammates to hit. Just get up and go shoot your free throws or whatever you're doing. So it's crazy.
No, for sure. But we'll put a ball in here. I don't want to keep too much of your time. But look, you got to make sure you guys go get this new book.
I'm having a good time, man. I appreciate you promoting the book. And they have to get that Last Enforcer.
You have to get the Last Enforcer. You heard it here first. Charles came on and had a great discussion with us. Please go get the book. This has been a good time for us as fans in general because we got a lot of books coming out. We just had there was another book, Blood in the Garden, by one of our good friends, Chris Herron, came out, covered the 90s Knicks in general, a team that you were obviously part of. Now we get the Last Enforcer. Pretty much, if you want to get into Knicks history, this is like the hotbed for timing for it right now. There's enough books, there's enough information. You got to go get everything because that's what good fans do. Go get the books, go read up, make sure you hear every story from every angle. That way you're the most informed. This is right out of the source's mouth right here. We have Charles Oakley on the podcast, a 90s Knicks legend. This is somebody you got to hear the stories direct from him from. And in order to do that, you got to buy the book. So go get the Last Enforcer by Charles Oakley. You won't regret it. Simply put. Thanks for your time, Charles. We appreciate it.
No doubt. So do they play tonight, the Knicks?
They play the Jazz tonight. They're in Utah.
Oh, wow. Utah just lost, too, didn't they? They lost to Phoenix, didn't they? No?
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm going to watch the game tonight, see how they play. See how do I coach and go somewhere, have somebody listen to us, go tell Thibodeau, somebody just come out and play hard with a lot of energy, take a couple charges, dive in the stand. Some got to turn the tide for them to get back on track. Because they started the season, 5-1?
Yes, they did.
So.
And I watched it fall apart before my very eyes against Toronto after they played bing bong in the arena.
The worst thing they could have done was play. Yeah, they couldn't have never play the bing bong. Never lean all the way in. Never lean all the way in on the courage runs. It always backfires. But
all right, guys, have a good one.
You too, Charles. Take it easy, buddy.